Don't raise your hand. Don't. If you ever ask this question, you never answer, I don't use ChatGPT. Never.
I've never used it before, ever.
No, I don't believe that.
Never.
I think you are one of the first, 100 million users with ChatGPT got
See, my nose is growing
2
very
months.
long. Okay, so should we start? I think it's okay.
Start.
All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of GITEX. It's been a long week so far already. An amazing week. So before I start, we have a guest that will be joining us. The third seat is vacant, so probably caught up in traffic or something like this. So it's always a bit ad hoc when you have to change.
Yep.
But anyway, we'll get started. So my name is Martin Yates. I'm the Government Technology Advisor of Presight. And Presight is a G42 company, and here we are in the G42 arena here at GITEX. So we're doing amazing things in Presight, and our stand is just over there, so hopefully you get a chance to come and visit us. And I can also probably say the same for Dell, which is just over there that we're going to be talking to. So with that in mind, talking of Dell, Mr. Hani, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Martin. My name is Hani Khalaf. I'm a CTO for data and AI solutions in Dell Technologies for the CMETA region. Basically, my job is to talk about AI and generative AI specifically. We are a team that's 1 year old in Dell. So, Martin and I actually go a long time ago because we were colleagues at some point. So, Martin, I consider him a very good friend, and I'm really looking forward to talk to you. So thanks you for having me here.
Thanks very much, Anna. Yeah, we were together in Dell for many years, and then I jumped to...
On smart cities specifically.
On smart cities, yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to let you off the discussion of smart cities before you jump into AI. Look, you know the world today that is challenged a lot, right? In terms of the population densities, the strain on government, just from a traffic point of view alone, there's huge problems in various cities, and the spend that people are going to make in smart cities is going to be vast. I mean, just next year, it's going to be $1.7 trillion will be spent on smart cities, upgrading cities, building them for the future. So this is a huge amount of money, but what's even more scary is in the next few years after, it's going up to around $6.5 trillion. I mean, this is massive, right? Yeah. This is a huge spend. And I really believe that IoT and AI needs to be fused to make that part of that journey to deliver various solutions. Yep. But with that in mind, from a Dell perspective and from your perspective, what do you see as the benefits of smart cities going forward? What do you see that's going to be different?
Sure. So before I started focusing on AI, for almost 12 years I was doing smart cities, talking to customers, in the region, and of course working with our global smart cities team, which is based in Singapore. So today there's a big competition between cities to attract people, attract talent, and attract business. So countries want businesses to come in so that they can operate, can pay taxes, and businesses, when they come in, they want talent. So there's a big competition today in the world for countries to attract people to cities. One way to make a city attractive and livable for people is to make it smart. Like we live here, for example, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. These are smart cities, so you really feel this when living here. So that's I think this is the thing that is, I see a focus now for many countries now, is attracting people to cities.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But this is interesting for me, and I probably, it's strange having worked for Dell for 12 years, I feel I know the answer, but that's not right now because I don't. So, I used to remember people coming to me when I was in Dell. They used to say, so Martin, Dell is one of the biggest companies in the world selling amazing desktop computers, PCs, network devices, servers, and storage. So where does Dell really fit in the smart cities story? Where does that come in?
Okay, so smart cities itself is not a solution. It's a concept of multiple solutions working together to first use IoT devices, use data, sensing data from the city systems to make it more livable and easy for people to live in. So this is the first part. Now, this covers many domains in a city. For example, transportation, healthcare, energy management. There's so many domains under smart cities. Of course, to, uh, to apply a concept of a smart city, you don't start with the infrastructure itself. You never talk about infrastructure. What you talk about is what a solution will do to a city, how it's going to serve the citizens. So our idea in Dell when this practice started is focus on citizen outcomes. Focus on citizen outcomes, what a system can do for the citizens, and from there start building the solution until you end up with the infrastructure. That was the approach, if you remember, this was a very successful discussion because when you talk to mayors and heads of municipalities, they really don't want to hear about the technology. They want to see what can this system do to my citizens? How can I make my citizens' life better?
Yeah, that's really so true. I mean, how often have we been in front of governments, ministers, city leaders, and we start showing up the technical diagrams, and the eyes glaze over, and they go, "What are these guys talking about?"
Yep.
So it really has to be related to things that are meaningful for them. And it's funny. I'll tell you a story. In certain countries, it's always like they want to get smarter faster just before election time. And
yes.
if you used to see that, deliver me something that's smarter now because an election's coming up in 6 months.
Yes.
So it's always like that.
Quick wins so that we can win the election.
Quick wins. But I do want to say that quick wins are great. I understand the need for that. But both in my time in Dell and now in G42 and pre-site here is, having a lot of these individual applications on their own isn't that smart. I mean, they deliver a smart something, but they need to be connected at the base.
Definitely.
Right? There needs to be a foundation.
Definitely.
And
yes.
I'm not doing a plug here, but we're just releasing something that allows all the applications to be plugged here. In pre-site, we call the intelligence platform. But regardless of platform, if you don't connect the pieces, you don't connect the dots of those applications, you never really get a smart city.
No.
Yeah, and so picking up from that, and I'd say in the last few years we've been working with artificial intelligence for a long, long time, but it never really surfaced so much. I think in the last sort of 2 years, people have got really excited about ChatGPT, generative AI, and how that can be applied to cities. But maybe I could just sort of push it back to you a little bit in the sense of, where do you see now AI in an ecosystem? Because it was all about the IoT, it was all about the data. And now it's all about how the AI gets applied to data. So specifically, what things are you doing in Dell that help accelerate that and speed that up?
Sure. Let me just go back to the connecting part. So you are absolutely right. So many cities have started building smart siloed systems together. One in transportation, one in energy, one in this and that. To become a really smart city, you always need this layer on top, which in cities it's referred to as an integrated operation center. IOC, or a command control center, or a city operation center, different names. But what essentially it is just a layer that collects information from all subsystems, coordinates between them so that it creates real smartness. So this is the part. Now, most cities have started with these systems, then build these nice IOCs for visualization, automation. The next step in this is AI, because to me, the most valuable asset in a city is the data, that the city collects. Each city collects massive amounts of data. And now is the time to utilize this data and use artificial intelligence, and now most recently, generative artificial intelligence to make things better. So let me give you an example, which from actually a city that we're working in the region here. So they want to make the experience of their visitors and people who live in the city easier. So they're looking to deploy like digital humans or digital avatars in the city, in downtown, so that people can come and talk to that human. You'll find these humans, I think, in GITEX all over the place. The nice thing is that when this human is generative, it's almost like talking to a real human. It doesn't answer, it's not a robotic thing. It really talks like a human. Then you can feed it documents about the city, which it can answer from. As if you are talking to ChatGPT, but it is specific to that city. So I can ask it which restaurant I can go to, which hotel is to stay in, where is the nearest concert that's happening, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't be more right. And I don't know if you know, but someone's just turned up on your right there.
Yes. Sorry.
Welcome.
This is what we call
So this, and you're not, okay, you have a microphone, we can hear you. Okay, yeah, traffic is a problem. See, if we use artificial intelligence, we can fix the traffic a bit better. But
some things can't be solved with AI, which is you just need another road. Right?
So welcome them, Ravi, to our stage. We have a great audience here. Perhaps you'd just like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ravi Rivero. I am the AI Center of Excellence leader for Intel across EMEA. So my job is to work with partners like Reimaged and Dell on how we're making AI a reality, not just in the data center, but across all landscapes. So we were talking about in smart cities, how does that work? How do you bring the capability of AI right the way to the edge devices? And that's where the partnership between the three of us works really well.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, welcome. So it's just interesting. I was about to send a question over here to Mr. Honey, but now I feel, now that you're here, I'll just save all the difficult questions for you as a penalty for being late. So look, I've heard, and I believe this to be true, that 70% of all the world's data is going to be created at the edge. That's not in the data center, it's not at the application level, it's at the edge. So if 70% of the world's data, and now we're talking about zettabytes of data, how does Intel look at managing that edge data? What should we be thinking about? What should we be planning from an architectural point of view? What's the deal here in terms of managing the edge?
It's a great question. And when you think about the reality of the world is, what device do you all use primarily in your day-to-day life?
Mobile?
Exactly, mobile phone, thank you very much. So you're creating content as you're writing messages, and when you're interacting with your friends, when you're interacting with your emails, when you're interacting with the shopping carts, when you're interacting anything that you do, it's at the edge, it's in your pocket. It's also then when you go and interact with a train station, it's interacting when you're walking around the city, when you're interacting with the Wi-Fi, when you're connected. So you can't just rely solely on the cloud, because if you're relying on the cloud, you've got to send all that data back to the cloud, process it. And by the way, there's some straight line that goes to the cloud. It goes to a Wi-Fi device, then goes from a Wi-Fi device to a network device, then goes from a network device to a firewall, to the data center, and then back to the data center to the cloud. Like, it's complicated. So when you start adding those little jump points, you've got to think that that data has its transit, and that cost. And it also costs to process that data and then get that back down. Now when you're talking about those interactive humans, I mean, they're robots ultimately, but when you have that natural language and you have that natural response in smart cities, you can't have latency. If you're stood there in front of that bot or that AI engine and it's taking a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds to get a response, it's like talking to a child when your child says, what did you do wrong? I don't know. And it's not a natural experience. So you have to bring data to the edge, and you have to bring those AI applications to the edge. So where does Intel play? Where does Reimaged play? Where does Dell play? I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? We build the devices for you guys to be able to do that. We be able to harness that data and bring AI applications to the edge, not just in a server or a PC, but even into the smaller devices that go on the back of screens, for example, that are completely oblivious to us as humans, but they're there processing that data right there at the edge. Is that your answer?
And today's world is about real time.
Yeah.
So if you want real time processing, you have to do it at the edge. You cannot just send it to a back ends and go through latency.
Yeah. I mean that's absolutely right. With a huge amount, I mean 70% of data at the edge, you have to process it, you have to filter it. But tell me something. We could do a lot of that through traditional techniques. But where does artificial intelligence now play at the edge? Where is that kicking? And we hear a lot about machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. Sort of help us understand like what those layers are. In layman speak, how that applies to the edge. Yeah.
So actually, there's 5 reasons why you would do edge. So like you said, I want speed. I want to minimize the data I'm sending back to the back end. I want to anonymize the data, because if I send everything, then if somebody looks at this data, they can see everything. I can only send results. So these are not related to AI yet. There's 2 reasons related to AI. The first one is what we call AI inferencing, which is when you use AI. So when you are chatting with ChatGPT and you're sending a question and getting back, that's called AI inferencing. When a camera is analyzing a video feed to find that somebody is not wearing their PPE, or somebody is crossing the street at the wrong place. This is called inferencing, AI inferencing. Edge is extremely important for AI inferencing because what's happening now is that the AI models need to run at the edge, need to run in the retail store, need to run at the traffic light where somebody is doing something, needs to run in the street to capture the license plate and the color and the make of a car. So it needs to run there. So, and the next thing that's also important, and this is still in the early stages, is what we call federated AI learning. So in AI, typically, you centralize the data, you build a model, and then you put it at the edge. In the next phase of technology, what's going to happen is the AI model will learn from the pieces in the edge locations. It will learn small learnings. The learnings will be combined and then building a model and then sending it back. So there's no need to centralize the data to create a model. This is something that's going to happen. So AI inferencing and federated AI learning at the edge.
I'm just going to take that one step further. Now, if you think about it, if I'm an enterprise and I'm an organization and I have lots of different parts of my organization, I have HR, I have finance, I have supply chain, I have logistics, I have retail, I have sales motions, whatever it is. If you build a LLM or a chatbot that understands all of those things, it's a very complex beast in itself. So what we're talking about here is what we call SLM, so small large language models, small language models. But it's quantifying that with your own data and bringing that to the edge. And then when you take that further, and this is called retrieval augmented generation, is then you have multiple agents that understand that line of business. So the idea is I as a human say, I'd like to know what my visa status is. But it's the same interface. But also, when does my visa expire? Or can you book me a medical appointment to have my visa done? Or, when is the next tram coming? You don't need to have separate applications for this. What you need to do is you need to separate the data and separate it down to the inferencing, so you have an agent that understands the question, that understands that I need to then ask it questions about my visa status. I need to answer a question or book an appointment for a medical. And that's what we call multi-agent brand. And the idea is that you have multiple agents for different parts of your organization. And then you don't need this complex language model. And then you can do these things at the edge. You can run those small RAG models and those small agents on a small little device. You can even run them on your iPhones and your Androids.
Actually, let me give you an example which I heard recently when we were talking to a telco. How many of you call your telco provider when your internet is down or your TV doesn't work? Okay. What do? They start troubleshooting remotely. So the LLM is the language behind ChatGPT, large language models. What's going to happen in the future, as LLMs become smaller, there will be an LLM running in your house on a device, analyzing your data in the house, and then it will know what is happening. So there's no need for somebody to troubleshoot on the side. It is analyzing everything there, okay, and it is giving the context, the summary to the agent or even a machine on the other side to fix things. So LLMs will come to your house.
So we're getting smart homes basically.
Yes.
Real
Well, this is
smart
like
homes.
even the next evolution of smart homes.
But the reason isn't because we want to reduce the traffic that's going to the call centers. The reason is because of an SLA that all of these telcos have. They end up having to pay out more money to you and give you credits against your account. So it may only be €5, €10 or $5, $10 or £5, £10 or whatever the currency is. But when you stack that up within 100,000 people, that's a lot of money. It's a huge problem for a lot of these telcos. But also it causes customer friction. It
Yes.
also causes customers to leave when their renewal is. So this is all about retaining customers and keeping your customers happy with their customer experience. This isn't about reducing cost and removing people out of the call center. This is about retaining customers, reducing your SLAs. There's a real business value there. And people forget that. So
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is cool. We want to remove people out of the call
No,
center.
no, it's not.
It's about removing the cost out of the business to increase revenue. That's why we do these things.
Yeah. An LLM can understand, what's happening,
Yeah.
and maybe can tell, okay, let's do a reset on this automatically without disturbing the customer or the operation at home. It's just an example, and there's multiple. And even LLMs now, we're going to start seeing them in your mobile devices. The new AI PCs, and if you want to see an AI PC, come to the Dell booth. So the next evolution now of PCs and laptops are AI PCs. How do you know it's an AI PC? If it has a Copilot button on it. So these PCs will run LLMs on the laptop. So you're talking to a ChatGPT-like engine within your machine without having to connect it to anything, with all the smartness that comes with an LLM.
Yeah, it's exciting time. I've just thought of a great business idea that I'm going to create some stickers with that logo and just stick them on regular laptops and call them AI.
I call them IFCs. That's good.
Well, no, but you laugh at that, but actually the point is that even with, you don't necessarily need to go, I mean, I'm Intel, so I want you to buy more Intel technology, of course I do, but the reality is you don't necessarily need to do a full refresh of everything. Yes, if you're going to run Copilot Plus, you need an AI PC. There is a huge benefit from a power consumption, from a TCO perspective. There's loads of real benefits, and please come to the Dell booth and we can talk to you about that. But a lot of the things that we're talking about, because they're not large language models and smaller racks, a lot of these things you can do by deploying directly on the infrastructure that you have today. And this is the misconception. What I would like you to take away from this discussion is you can run things at the edge, but you don't necessarily have to do a full refresh and buy your hard.
Yes.
IDC put a statistic out recently that there's 90% of AI POCs, proof of concepts, have not moved into production. And the two number reasons are they haven't thought about the data and they haven't thought about the cost of running. What typically happens in smart cities and in other locations is an engineer will just go into the cloud and they'll say, I need AI equals GPU, I'm going to run that. And yes, you get the use case for it, but then when you take that through into production, you go to MVP and you go to production, you look at the cost, and the 5-year run cost, or the 3-year run cost. Your value case might be 5 million, but your cost to run is 4 million. So you're only having a 1 million net benefit. That's a great ROI still, right? In fact, the ROI for that is like 7 years in the future. There's a lot of investment in that project. So when you use your existing infrastructure or when you do things at the edge, you can massively reduce your operational costs, run things locally, that are much, much stronger business models. And that's where the power of the three of us come into play, because we can work with you on those opportunities. And we say, here's where you want to do a refresh, here's where you don't want to do a refresh. Let's utilize what you have today. Let's see how we can get you moving faster.
Actually, I want to pick up, you mentioned something important, which was GPU.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've always traditionally known CPU, but now GPU's been with us for a long time through the gaming industry originally, of course, and now it's kind of used everywhere in the AI. So, from a trend point of view, and obviously Intel as a maker of these devices, what is the trend? I mean, is it going to be more CPUs or more GPUs, or is there something else coming?
Do we say this?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You are the chips. You are the silicon.
I'm the chip guy.
Yes.
Right, yeah. I'm not Pringles or Lay's or anybody. I'm the other guy. So when you think about, I'm going to go techie for a second. So I'm going to apologize to those of you in the room that are listening to technical, but I'll try and make it relevant. So ultimately, the way that a computer works, it's all about math and logic. So it's if this, then that, and it turns that into zeros and ones. But ultimately, every single thing that happens on your laptop when you press a button, it's doing some mathematical calculation. So for the last 5-6 years, Intel have understood that from a machine learning perspective. And what we've done is we started to make some real advancements in the chips that we produce. So if you think about it, we have salted vinegar, we have ready salted, and we have sour cream. So we have different chips that we have that do different things that give you different flavor. So what we started to think about when we started looking at machine learning is there's a specific mathematical operation that happens, which is called a matrix algorithm. Now I learned this stuff when I was doing my master's 20 years ago, and I was like, I'm never going to use this stuff in my life. Now we're doing machine learning at the edge, and we're doing machine learning everywhere. There is a specific part of the chip that understands that, and it will say, oh, I understand this. I don't want you to go on this highway, I want you to go on this highway. And it will just do that operation really, really fast. Now, we did this 4 years ago, what we call Xeon 4. We're now on Xeon 6. We've made several advancements in technology in the way that we can do these things. So now you can do inferencing with a large language model. If you know what Llama 3 is, and it's a 70 billion parameter model, you can do that on a Xeon processor without having to use a GPU. Because the way that the GPU works is lots and lots of little cores that do things in parallel. So it's lots of little highways that do things in parallel. But if I've got one thing that I needed to process, doing things in parallel doesn't make any sense because I don't have lots of cars on the road. I've got one car on the road. So if you think about it in terms of lanes and cars, you can kind of understand it. So what we've basically done is we've turned it, like we've got a super bridge doing like Mario Kart where you get like the mushroom, you press the mushroom button and you go faster. That's basically what we've done from a processing perspective. So that's why you don't necessarily need GPUs when you're doing a lot of these things. If you're doing really complex large language models like the 300 billion parameter model stuff,
You need
you need something more beefy than a CPU. We have an alternative called Gaudi, which is not a GPU, but there's other options for you.
I mean, there are all. I mean, it's not only CPU and GPU. Actually, there are many kinds of accelerators that are happening, and there's all kinds of companies, actually, even partners that we work with, who are coming up with very specific accelerators. One of them is Cerebras, in our booth. So they do a special kind of accelerator. Grok is another accelerator. Sambanova. So there's a lot of competition in this area. But like you said, as LLMs become more efficient, they can be probably run on CPUs, and GPUs will be constraints for bigger jobs.
Yeah, what I would say is before you start investing in technology, think about your value case.
Yeah.
Think about the business case first. Think about where the data is and where the customers are, and then work your way backwards from that. Don't go forward with, I'm just going to buy a GPU cluster or accelerate. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love that, and so would Dell, but that's not really what we want to do from an efficiency perspective. But we help you with that. So Dell had something called an AI factory, and they have some, I'm now doing your job, but
okay.
they also have...
You don't get his salary though. So.
Well, maybe he gets more. Actually, please do visit and look at the AI factory. The AI factory is what we did to simplify or democratizing access to AI for customers, especially for Gen AI, which is very complex. I welcome you to visit our stand. There's a wall. Actually, there's two kinds of walls, two famous walls in.
I've heard of a firewall.
No, there's the Great China Wall, and there's the AI factory wall at the Dell booth here. So I welcome you. You will be entertained when you hear the story of the AI factory. But what essentially it is, an end-to-end solution so organizations can start consuming AI from day one. So making, going from POCs to production easy, which is a big mountain to climb.
Yeah. No, so, wow. There's a lot to take in there, actually.
Yes.
I get the feeling when we're here next year, there's going to be a whole new set of new announcements, new things. And by the way, I fully expect next year, I looked around, there's no robots walking around.
No, not yet.
Maybe a few zombies after too much coffee, but there's certainly no robots.
You saw Elon Musk just released the robot?
So
last week?
I think next year we'll start to see the GPT embedded robots, maybe powered by Intel, servers powered by Dell.
Changes are so fast in this domain, even for us, we cannot keep up. Like the LLMs, I mean, I was hearing last 2 weeks ago, we were talking to Meta, who makes the Llama models, Meta or Facebook. They said the lifetime of an LLM is 3 months. 3 months, so every 3 months, there's another LLM coming. So next year,
crazy.
I cannot even imagine what we're gonna see.
Yeah, it's. I've never lived in a time of such change.
No,
and we've got to deal with it, right? We've got to manage our lives around
I
it.
want to challenge you on that. You have, because of the dot-com move. Now, the reality is, like, if you take a look at history and technology, everybody got really excited over blockchain. Everybody got really excited over IoT. But we haven't really seen a transformation in technology like the internet for a long time. And the reality is, because the internet, everybody uses it, right? And it has transformed our organizations. Blockchain, IoT, it hasn't really transformed the way that we operate as humans in the real world. AI, though, is.
Yes.
Right? If you really think about how you use Siri, how you use Gemini, and how you use other applications, and ChatGPT. My mum uses ChatGPT first, right? I mean, this is ridiculous how good AI is getting. And that's where we're seeing, and that's where I think AI is that transformational. It's not as transformational as the internet, but it is almost up there.
Yeah.
Well, I will disagree with you here.
I like it.
I wanted to disagree with them as well.
I want to disagree because generative AI specifically, I mean, they call it the iPhone moment of AI. If you are old enough and you remember in 2007 when the first iPhone appeared, okay, it transformed mobile phones forever. And generative AI, or November 2022, 2 years ago, when generative AI came into the world, this is the iPhone moment. And from that place, I don't think the world will be ever the same.
But
So,
is the iPhone moment bigger than the internet moment?
No, not really.
Well,
not really. No,
look-
not really. But I'm
actually, the iPhone moment. Yeah, no, I mean, what the mobile did, the iPhone did, is brought the internet to everybody on the go. So it kind of exploded the use of the internet. Before the iPhone and the smart mobile phones, we were confined to our laptops or desktops to work on the internet, right? When the mobile phone came and became smart, the internet usage exploded. So I would say, to me, it's bigger. And now generative AI is even much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
We just started scratching the surface
Exactly. We're just at the
in
beginning.
generative AI.
And I'm telling you this, and I'm not kidding because I've been looking into this. Robots fit into the humanoid robots, fit into everything around here and all the tasks and all the activities.
Yes.
They're going to be more fundamentally changing again.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
and I'm
yes.
kind of looking forward to ones that can hoover the
The
house
one
and
who
stuff
mops
like this.
and
right?
cleans.
I want my Eufy robot to go up the stairs.
Yeah, they all
It's
do
got
that.
the
Yeah,
stairs.
for a few $1,000s they'll all do that. But AI will be inside, so this is going to be a game-changing humanity. Clearly, it's going to change a lot in the smart cities because
Yes,
those
definitely.
robots will take a lot of, do a lot of activities in the cities themselves, going
Yeah.
into dangerous places, drains, sewers, many applications.
Yeah.
Conscious of time, this is a really great conversation. We should continue this one at night. But from a like, what would be? And I start with you, Hani. What is the takeaway? If you could offer one sentence or snippet of advice to anyone to manage the future, how do we survive and manage the future? What do you need to learn? What is it you need to tell anyone? What would you tell your best friend? Do this now.
Actually, I told it to my daughter who just started studying computer science. You have to have an open mind, be ready to unlearn what you know and learn new things. And the second thing I would tell you is make sure you learn AI and use AI, because humans with AI will definitely outperform and sometimes replace humans without AI. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you. You, Ravi?
I was going to say something similar actually.
It's always like that.
Education is the most important thing within your organisation. You've got to give people education around what AI can do for them. Just by going and saying, the other thing I would say is start with the value case. Think about what this AI process can do for your organisation, and then look at how you architect. Don't go architectural first, because that's where you're going to make some really big bang cost decisions, and you're going to move data in the wrong places. A lot of organizations are using like Workday, for example, with a big Workday partner. They're not thinking about how the data moves around in the cloud and where it's processed. Particularly in EMEA, we have to think about what's happening with the data and where the data is going. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you very much, both Dell and Intel, for your insights. It's been amazing. There's so much more to learn. Next year, I'm sure we're going to have a whole new set of topics to discuss. But smart cities and smart nations, it's going to be a huge change. We've talked about the change of society.
Definitely.
We talked about the change of how automation will make everything different. And we're just scratching the surface, is what I'm hearing of the artificial intelligence, which is a bit scary considering how much change we've already seen.
I like to remain optimistic.
We are always optimistic
Yes.
about these things. They're always going to be for good, right? So again, I just want to thank you, Dell. Thank you, Intel. You can go visit the Dell stand over here.